So you're joining me halfway through my Maker Tales studio renovation, which you saw me start in the last video when I was doing all the floor plan and stuff. Now things are starting to look like they're coming together, but before we get that, let me just show you. This here is sort of the idea that I came up with at the end. I did this off camera because I had to do a lot of tweaking to find something that looked like. Now I'm not 100% sure if this is what I'm going to stay with, but it's definitely the direction that I'm going to go with for now. So, to get started, the room was in a mess. This was how bad it was at the very beginning of this, and thankfully I had some backup. Jenny helped me out. We basically organized the entire space, put everything into piles, so we got all my ongoing projects, my future projects, everything, got all that sorted, and then I realized I really wanted to put more on my plate, so I wanted to redo my desk, because it was looking horrible. The wrong coat was on top of it. I put the wrong varnish, so it was peeling, it was yellowing, it was really nasty stuff. So thankfully, again, I had Jenny to help me out there. We took all of that varnish off. Then I basically filled in all the gouges that we did while trying to take that varnish off. Then I repainted it, as well as repainting the doors and the back wall a little bit more, basically all the boring stuff. And then I'm going to pass you over to past future me of where this is on the timeline. So that there is most of the boring stuff out the way. The desk is fixed. I'm going to get my computer up so I can start editing this up. On this side, most of the painting is done, as well as all these flat packs. The doors are looking nice as well, nice to fit in with the wall as well. I've got to paint that black. And then on top of that is going to be a project that I've been wanting to do for almost 2 years, which is this here. This is a bit of elm that I've had drying for about 2 years. Now, a year ago, it did start to develop a crack, and I put a little bow tie, maple bow tie in it here, but there's still this crack here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly plane this down a little bit, and I don't have a planer, so I'm going to have to make a little sled planer, and that will be the first time I do that. And then once I've done that, I'm going to do my first ever resin pour inside of that crack to try and stabilize it a little bit more. And then this is going to get beeswaxed, I think, and we're going to put that on top of there, raise this up just a little bit, and then I've got to do the workbench, I've got to sort out the lighting, I've got to get all the storage, I've got to sort out this mess here. Right, let's just get on with this, let's go. Computer's finally up and running, so I can catch up with a whole bunch of stuff that I've been missing out. I've done a little bit of research on how to do a router sled, and now it's time to work on this. All I'm going to do is put this camera up, do a big long time lapse of this. This is not a woodworking channel, so I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to make this perfect, I just need it to be a little bit thinner and a little bit more polished off and a little bit flatter, and then that's going to be working perfectly for right there. It was all going so well until it wasn't. So there's the board, it's cut to size, and it looks alright, but you might have noticed that it's not exactly finished. So I know this is bad form, but it was the tool. I promise you it was the tool. I bought the cheapest router years ago, and it failed me in the sense that I would set it to a height, and then as I was using the sled and all that, it would just little by little go deeper and deeper and deeper, taking bigger cuts. There was nothing I could do about it. So we have this really uneven finish here. So it's like stepped and stepped. So there is a plan B, which is there is a lumber yard just off where they sell slabs like these. And they do have a gigantic drum sander, and I want to see if tomorrow I can get in contact with them and see if I can hire out the drum sander for an hour to basically flatten this out to make this work. Because if that's not the case, then I have to buy a new router and I have to go through all of this again, and my head is killing right this minute. So let's see what tomorrow brings. At least we got the computer set up. Yeah, ignore the cable management. I'm going to 3D print some things for that, but we'll get to that in a bit. It's a new day, I got a haircut, and update on the wood. So I called the timber yard, they told me that they're going to take a look at it tomorrow. So what I'm going to do today is basically get these painted, maybe create a stand for it. I don't know, we're just going to get making and see how far we get. And there we have it, we're one step closer to the finished studio. It's looking really good, but I'm now at a bit of a standstill because, well, without knowing the thickness of this, I don't know where to put the shelves that are going to go here. I also don't know the exact height of the workbench and how much I might need to take off on the bottom support to be able to accommodate this, because the workbench is going to slide on top of that. So come tomorrow, 10 o'clock, I'm going to go to the lumberyard and then let's see what they are going to tell me. I'm just back from the lumberyard now, and they've been able to flatten this out. All of my problems have gone away. All I need to do now is sand this, then probably do some beeswax on top of it or something like that, and then everything can start to be built off the height of that, so the workbench, the shelves, and all the rest. So let's go get this sanded. Well, that took way longer than expected to get to this nice final result here, because this was rough sawn flat, which means that it was looking this rough before, and to get it to this here, well, I forgot how hard wood is. And yeah, I don't know what to do now, because I did say this was going to be my first resin pour to fix this, but I don't know, I'm a little bit scared. I've never done it before. I don't want to ruin this. I don't have a plan B. So I think what I'm going to do is cut the legs of this cabinet so that it's at the height that I actually want this to be at. And I think I've just got to take off like 3 centimeters off of those. And yeah, then I'll probably give it one coat tonight of some Osmo satin sort of oil sealer and leave it for today. And finally, the saga of this back bit is done. I'm really happy with the end result. The only thing is that it's not quite long enough on here. So I want to create some end bits, but I'll get to that in a moment. Now that I have the height of this, I was able to finish off the design of the workbench here. I actually didn't have to trim off anything. It was just needing to make it a little bit longer, but that's about it. And yeah, I also know what I'm going to do for the back bit here. That's going to be part of the butcher block that I've got set up for the workbench. Speaking of which, I only have 2 hours till it starts to rain, and I'm sure it's going to rain because it's Scotland. So I've got my cut list. I have construction timber that is ugly and yellow. So I need to go and cut that, sand that before the rain comes so we can get this going and make a workbench today. Oh man, once again I am completely sanded out. Now I have good news and bad news. Good news is that my beech butcher block worktop is now sanded, cut to size, looking brilliant. It does need a top coat of something, and I'll decide that later. It's probably going to be Osmo again, and that'll be it. Now the other news is this. Yes, all the other bits are now cut, but you might see that I haven't sanded them, and they're looking a bit, well, ugly. That's because they're a little bit wet. Now, not wet enough that it's going to stop me putting together this workbench, but wet enough that I did try sanding it and it was having none of it. I even tried sanding one for like 20 minutes and it still wouldn't work. But I'm too lazy / too much in a rush to wait for them to dry, so I'm going to go with like plan, where are we now, C, and wait for them to dry when they are a workbench and then paint them black. That should match the cabinets in the background, so that should work just fine. So yeah, let's go and get this workbench put together. Behold, we now have a lovely workbench. Yes, I haven't topped it yet, but I just really wanted to show you this just before I do all the nice shots of topping this, is how close we are to the Blender render. In fact, this is how close we are. It blows in my mind how close it is to the render. It's brilliant because it feels great that I've been able to render this out and already have a full plan exactly how I knew you guys were going to get to see this. So what's left? Well, we've got the back shelves here. That is the 3D printer and some display stuff. Then we've obviously got the big Cleat board, and I've got the sign. The sign will be a project on its own, but what I really want to deal with is that pegboard. I've got the back shelf here. I just need to paint it up, and then once I paint this up, I'll get it up and I'll do all that. But I need to do some 3D printing and some fit checks for the pegboard, because the pegboard is going to be a cleated one, so that I can remove it and move it about so I can add other projects on there while we're working on things. So with that said, let's get right back into time lapses and let's put a nice little top coat on top of this while we're at it. Oh, and very quickly, you might be wondering what exactly I'm going to be doing with this when it's not in use. Well, it's actually all part of the design. I literally just push it back. And there it is. I have all that space once again to do VR and everything that I want. So today I've just jumped straight into it. Last night I finished off some designs for the pegboard that I want to have on the background. Currently I have the lovely mechanisms for the back 3D printing, but what I need to do now is a little sort of size check. So over here I've got my laser cutter all getting set up here. I've got some new poplar plywood because unfortunately, due to the ongoing conflicts over in Ukraine, you can't get anything else but poplar. Now it's really light, it's brilliant for laser cutting. So I need to get the settings for this, see how well this cuts and all the rest, and then I will cut the first pegboard to basically give it a check here in the background. I'm also super happy with this final result here. It's turned out really nice. I think I'm going to give it a teeny tiny little sand and another coat later on tonight, but we're getting there. We're really getting there. Right. Let's get this tests out the way. Let's take a look at them together and see if there's something I've got to change, and then I can also explain to you the design that I've created for these. Well, once again, I've got myself in a little bit of a pickle and realized that I don't like what I've created here. Not for a reason that I expected though. These are the two pegboards here. This here is the industry size standard, which is 6mm around there. And this is my custom pegboards that I created for my background, which are 8mm, which I made like that so that I could use 3D prints and them being stronger. But I find that you want to look through the 8mm holes more than the industry standard, and I don't want you to want to look through holes when you're watching Maker Tales videos and this is in the background. So I've got to make things in the 6mm ones. So that's a nice quick easy fix. What isn't quite such a quick easy fix is the mounting system that I made for the pegboards on the cleats, because they're made for the 8mm holes. But I really want to show you these because I'm really proud of them and I don't know if I can put them into the 6mm holes. So let me show you that very quickly. Here it is. As you can imagine, a pegboard would go right on there, and then there's these lovely little snap clip system that goes here, clicks into place, and that holds it perfectly there. I have the same for a foot down here. I'll put it up here so it's in shot. And that would stop the pegboard wiggling about when you put that onto a cleat. Of course, you would have to put it down at the bottom there. Now I have to do some testing to see if that system is going to work with the 6mm holes, and I'll just click my fingers and let you know. And I think it might. So here is the new design. It is teeny tiny. I've done a test little hole here. So I'm going to put that in there, which is the industry standard. Get this, plop that into there, and oh, there's no click, but it does. It's on there. It's on there pretty good. I think it works. And I made this a little bit bigger so that this time round you wouldn't see the edges of the hole behind it. So I think it looks even nicer. So now that I've tested the system on a very quick print, I'm gonna upgrade that, get some things laser cut. In fact, let's just go into a giant montage. Let's get everything cut now. And there we have it. That is all 14 pegboards cut. Didn't take too long, about 2 hours, but it is the end of the day with me. This little screw up really did take up a whole bunch of time, but that's fine because I need time right this minute, which is this 3D print here. It's going to take 8 hours to do 2 pairs, and I have to do 14 pairs. So that's like 56 hours left of printing, so that's plenty fine. I'm gonna go get some rest, and then we'll come back to this, which is going to be sanded in the next step, as well as doing the shelves and the background and the cleats and all that. So let's see what's gonna happen when I get to there. So we have just jumped forward 2 days because, quite frankly, I just spent all of yesterday just doing a whole bunch of sanding and cutting these gigantic cleats that are going to be going on this back wall. The sanding was quite interesting. I've never had a problem with sanding, but for some reason I had to sand these by hand. The orbital sander was not wanting to work. I have the shelf ready for the back here. I have the little shelves there. I've got some cable management stuff to do and all these little bits and bobs, but then all I have to do is sort of decorate and pull this entire thing together. So let's do exactly that. And there we go, that's as far as I can get for now. Just before I show you the grand reveal, I just want to say thank you so much for watching and for your support in the last few years. It has meant the world to me, especially when I had my burnout a couple of weeks back, or maybe a month or two back. You guys really came there and I felt supported. Thank you so much for that, and it really, I can't express enough how much that helped. Also, there are some big changes coming to Maker Tales. This is a pretty big change in itself, so what exactly is going on? Well, I'm going to be changing quite a bit, but the basics are still going to be covered. I'm still going to show you how to use Blender now and then. I'm still going to be doing precision modeling and all that weird CAD workflow inside of Blender. But I'm also going to be expanding my horizons to actually creating projects. Everything from dioramas to clockwork mechanisms, 3D printing, laser cutting, resin pouring, or maybe even electroplating. I want to cover as much as possible, have fun making, actually creating projects with you. And that is for the future of Maker Tales. Also, a massive thank you to my patrons. You guys are absolutely awesome. Without you, I truly would not be able to make Maker Tales. It's thanks to you guys that I've been able to do this, and thank you so incredibly much. And if you're enjoying Maker Tales and you think I'm worthy of your support, I would love to see you there. If not, I would love a thumbs up, and if you want to see a whole bunch of future projects, I would love it if you consider subscribing. Okay, that's everything I gotta say. Let's get on with the grand reveal. And there we have it. You're going to start to see this setup right here a lot more often. Now, by all means, everything as it is right this minute, including the sound, the lights, the tools, the pegboard, everything is very much there for show right this minute because I have no idea how am I going to actually use this space, and that will dictate a lot of the things that are going on right this minute. If you have any suggestions, by all means, I would love to hear them down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Keep making and let the quest continue.